Buyers and sellers' interests are not aligned. It would be considered a conflict of interest. A buyer, however, and a lender can have the same attorney. And in fact, that's somewhat beneficial to a buyer because having the same attorney represent the buyer and the lender means less cost for the buyer, and the buyer will have more control over the whole closing and all the details because they have that attorney-client relationship already established.
Bill, you mentioned something a few minutes ago about mortgage rates being in the fours, and reminded me of another radio commercial. And I drive around in the car hearing this national provider of mortgages that's on the radio all the time, and saying, "Yeah, call me because interest rates are in the fours." And whenever I've made those phone calls, the interest rates aren't in the fours. So what's going on with that? I mean, it sounded like it was only for a short period of time it was in the fours. And I guess the other question is, how are they able to kind of like just tell people that rates are something that they're not?
Well, it's interesting because a little bit comes from the media, and you'll hear it on whatever news that you're listening to that rates are at 4.5%. And there was a strategic plan back in the early January to say we're going to pump this money into the markets and we're going to try to achieve that. They found it wasn't cost effective. And that literally was a 5-minute conversation in Congress. Done. X amount of people took that story and ran with it. But, we mentioned the 0-point rate was at 5%. If you'd like to pay points, 1 point, 2 point, even 3 points, now you could be in the mid to low fours, which is very attractive if you're going to be in your house for a long time. We don't know if we'll see these rates again. So it's just, buyer beware. Call. If it looks too good to be true, it usually is. But again, this is why we have the APR, the annual percentage rate. If you're shopping for a rate, that APR should be almost identical to the interest rate. If not, there's some hidden cost there. And again, just be cautious when you're looking for these things.
Okay, well, I'm ready to sell my house. Chris, how do I start the process?
Great. There we go. Call her.
Let me sign.
Yeah, just call me. The most important thing is to find a realtor who, a few things. Number one, matches your personality. Because if you're someone who really likes things done quickly and you like people just to give you snippets of information, you need someone that works at that pace. Whereas if you're someone who's more wanting to know every stat that's out there, you need to know the research, the market research behind everything, you need that type of person to work with. So personality matches is really important. The other things are the agent having a knowledge of the market area, that they're professional, that they are marketers. You're really hiring a marketer. You're hiring someone to market that property for you so that you can get the highest and best price possible. And then a great negotiator. The negotiating skills are so important. It's something that people overlook. I watch great negotiators all day long in our office, and it's amazing the difference between someone who has that skill and someone who doesn't. So really interview the agents that you may know of, or you can go online to find agents, but interview a few and know who you're getting.
That brings up another point about a situation we talked about before. I have a client that I've done some financial planning with, helped them buy their first house about 10 years ago, and they want to sell their house right now. And but what we found out is that when they had a market appraisal done, their house was worth less than what they actually owe on it now. They're in a position where they can wait, come back, but also, there are people that are getting laid off. There are people that are losing their jobs, or they have to move. And then there's this term I've heard a lot about, which is called short selling. And as a financial advisor, I kind of cringe when I hear that term. But Hillary, what can you tell us about short sales and how they work?
Well, a short sale is exactly as you explained it, where the purchase price is less than the value of the mortgages on the property. And what you really have to do is negotiate with your lenders to have them release the property from it so you can move forward. What that does, though, is it creates a deficit for the lender, because you're giving them less than the full value that they gave you originally. So the negotiations can be tough. they can be time consuming, and there's a lot of different options that happen when it all occurs. So it's kind of like a tree. Here's your short sale, and they can approve it. They could approve it conditionally, or they can not approve it at all. And then each of those branches have other avenues of which you can go down. So that they're quite complicated, and it's important to hire a professional who's experienced with them.
So Bill, then what does that do to a person's credit?
Well, we're still on a learning curve with this. It is case by case because every situation is different. If we find people that have been very, very responsible over the course of history with their credit, and they're getting into the short sale because of something outside of their control, the banks are looking at this a little bit more favorably, and they'll work with them. But it is a mark on your credit, not nearly as severe as a foreclosure or a bankruptcy, but the banks still they'll work with you to get through the next stage.
So, Chris, if I'm an investor, these sound like good opportunities. Or if I'm a first-time home buyer, or somebody may be in a position that is looking to move up, a short sale may sound like a good opportunity to get involved in. Is that true, or is there something I'm missing here? And how would you find that type of property? Do you call a real estate agent? Do you call the bank? What do you do?
Real estate agents do list short sale properties because it's basically marketed the same way to the public the way a regular property would be marketed. And so they are available through realtors. And are they a good avenue to pursue? They can be. Some banks want exact market value for those homes, and they won't allow a sale to go through unless they feel as though they've gotten market value. Other banks might feel as though, you know what, I don't want the carrying costs, take the offer that's on the table and let's go forward. So it's really a case-by-case basis whether or not they're a good deal.
Patience is important too.
Yes.
Lenders are overwhelmed with the requests for short sales right now, and it takes a long time to
It
get it through.
does.
So you just got to make sure everybody's patient with the deal if you want it to go that way.
Bill said it was a few weeks that it took one to get approved just recently, but we were all thinking that was so unusual because
We've seen a few months
Yeah,
go by on these,
absolutely.
and everyone
Exactly.
the tensions, the tension's there, and you have to look at it from the bank's point of view or an individual's point of view.